to follow. And I'm only allowed 10 minutes, which is almost impossible. So,
you can go.
my task is to, one, provide some provocation and give you some examples of some projects that we've worked on. Let me be provocative to start with. After going through high school a long time ago, I was scarred almost for life by statistics. I didn't understand them when I taught them. I didn't understand their importance, and I didn't understand how powerful they were. And given the trend of, we get excited, we need to do this from kindergarten to year 12 now or beyond, I suspect subtly introducing the concepts of statistics, we probably need a different name for it, probably even needs to start before kindergarten. And I'll give you some good example. We've gone from a situation where there's been, I think, a complete lack of data in involved with spatial science, so geosystems and, if you know that, geographic information systems and remote sensing. It was easy to get data from the American government, and a lot cheaper, because usually it was free, than what you could from the Australian government or the state government here in South Australia. And it was all state governments. Data was something to hold on to. And now, I'm particularly also interested in citizen science and citizen sensors, we're going to a stage where it's almost going to be death by data. And there's going to be so much of it. How do we know what's good? How do we know what's, what does Trump use the word fake, or is it false? Or how do we know that there aren't spurious correlations in there? So I think the only way that can really save us there, well, there are probably two steps. One of them is that we somehow need to take that data and visualise it, because being able to see something is very powerful. And then secondly, we need to be able to make some predictions from the data we have. Having data for the sake of having data, I think, is very much a drowning experience. We need to be able to use that data for something. And we work in the environmental area, and unfortunately South Australia is like so many states in Australia. The amount of funding that goes into that area for monitoring what's happening in the world around us has dried up almost completely. And quite a few of park ranges have also disappeared out of the system. We're now relying on citizens to collect a lot of that data. But a lot of that data gets collected in different ways, and it's a bit messy, and so somehow we need to be able to pull that together. And one of the things, I think the most important, powerful thing that we work on are some visualisation tools and the ability to make some simple predictions from that. It don't have to be, I don't believe statistics needs to be as hard as what it is. And I think you can do a lot without putting too much mathematics in there. But as I said, I'm still scarred from my experience going through high school. But I've had to deal with this in more recent times. So those are a couple of points to start with. So how do we stand out? We need to, one, be able to generate more data, and increasingly, South Australia, I think, does lead Australia on this. There are more and more data sets that are becoming available. But we need to be able to be creative about that and make sure that it is actually what is it that we actually want to do, and is it going to fit in with what we need to do as well. And can we get some useful stuff out of that so we can possibly make some predictions down the track? And they don't need to be terribly sophisticated, they just need to get an inkling of which way they're going to go. So we've had probably 3 projects now. The first one was, and I was put together really in a long weekend, which was a mobile phone app using some open data sets, where if you stood at a certain point, it could actually work out what plants and animals would normally grow or be in that area. Or, was it what grows here? And we were putting data down from several databases, both from state flora, the Apps of Living Australia, familiar with that, and another data set. Because we put it together so quickly, we're trying to make it a bit prettier than what it was, so that's going to be available fairly soon, and we'll continue to work with that. But it gave us the opportunity to think about, well, how do we store the data? So people can access it. So immediately starts, if you're, say, a science teacher, immediately have to start thinking about IT. That's probably another issue I was scarred with when I was younger as well. But all of these sort of things are not in isolated silos. They really do need to be worked through together. So you might have to go and make friends with the IT teacher in your school, or IT teachers, unless you're one already. If you are one already, then you should make proper friends.
Lots of good IT teachers and science as well.
Because that's really important, because there's no way that we can store all the data we produce in our traditional forms. They do need to be stored in a way that can be easily accessible. That was the first one. The next one we're working on, the next level of sophistication, is to produce a database for Conservation Council of South Australia called Reef Watch. They have a number of volunteers, citizen scientists who go out every year, and instead of getting into the water and providing some fun for the white pointers at certain times of the day, if they're there, they actually mostly walk along the beach and see what's happening on the beach. So that's called Reef Watch. And I think we have...
See if we did load that page, so yes.
So it hasn't gone live yet, but it's close to doing that. So in the past, and this is what happens with a lot of citizen projects, or even school projects, is you start off and sometimes the data gets stored on the back of envelopes and in someone's notebook. Then you get a bit more sophisticated, you put it into Excel. Then you change the fields over time. But then you realise the person who was looking after the data has moved to the Outer Hebrides somewhere, and so half the data is here and someone's in a shoebox somewhere else. All of these, that's pretty understandable because things change as you go through, and you're always under time pressure to make sure you get it done. So you don't have the time to do the stuff that you should be doing, which is where we come in as well. That's why we're trying to provide a solution, an open source solution for people to be able to use. So you don't have to worry about which shoebox you stored your diskettes in, or what Excel file that it's in as well. Most importantly, when it's set up properly, other people can access it, and then you can get some ideas about what's happening and provide some basic predictions. Because to me, the power of doing all of this is what you can predict about what's going to happen. So one, you can tell a story about what is happening, but then you can also say, well, we think that this is likely to happen. So that's something we can talk about, and maybe even thump the table about sometimes, if that's what it is. The third project that we're looking at doing involves this and some possums and parrots. This is a brush-tailed possum nesting box. One of the things we've done around Adelaide is cut down a lot of our trees, and a lot of the parks and a lot of the government is trying to put up nesting boxes so that they can encourage animals back into their suburbs. So some councils, like Unley for example, are spending thousands of dollars every year on putting these up. But how do you know they're actually being successful? How do you know? They've got to be put up on the right side of the tree, in the right location, the right height. You know, it's a bit like, it seems a bit like Russian roulette, but there are some rules you can follow there. How do you know that they're actually being used? How do you know that you actually have brushed up blossoms in the area and you could just be wasting money? But most importantly, how do you get people involved with this? So our idea is to basically use the Internet of Things concept and using the sort of ideas we've developed before. So we want to actually start monitoring nesting boxes. So we try and do that 3 different ways. The first level is to put on a Bluetooth sensor. I might take into your area, sure? No. Just the Bluetooth sensor, lots of them. This is one down here. That one's been on there for about over a year now, hasn't it, John? It's still working.
This is actually showing me how far away I am from that sensor. So obviously if you're walking through a park, this application could trigger you to the fact that there's a possum box in the area and gets people involved with what's happening. So it gets them to look up into the trees and to be aware of the project. So it's the first level.
Yeah. So imagine that you've had your morning coffee and you're in your morning lycra, going for your morning walk, and suddenly you get this message on your mobile phone, because everyone has their mobile phone on all the time now, surely. I know my daughter does. I don't think her phone has ever been turned off for the last 3 or 4 years. She's too scared to think that something might happen when it's turned off. So the first thing is a subtle message saying, hey look, did you realise that we've actually got several of these boxes set up and we're monitoring whether animals are using them. And in particular, we're monitoring what animals are using them. And down the track, we can see whether not only this has been a worthwhile project, but also the population density of the various species that might be in there as well. So we can actually provide this information to people, not just the council, but also people as well. So that's the first stage, and we set that up. The second stage is that we're looking at doing some monitoring in terms of some of the physical features associated with the box. So in some ways it can almost become a mini weather station. That's maybe a long-term goal, but there are certain things we can monitor using some quite integrated sensors, temperature, humidity and those sort of things as well. And the third stage is actually put a video camera on there, and this is where it becomes most powerful, I think, from a schooling point of view, is that video we can monitor the energy budget and turn it on and off at times so we can take picture snapshots of actually what's coming in and going out of the box. All of that gets sent up online, not only stored there, but with visualisation tools so you can see, well, if there are possums using this box, when are they doing that? How many possums do we think there are in a certain area? Why do we need to know that? Well, it could be that we're wasting our time doing certain things and maybe need to concentrate on other types of things in terms of monitoring. But most importantly, it involves not just you or your students, but also people from the local area. It's letting them know, it's piquing their curiosity, hopefully, so they'll go home and have a look to see actually what's happening. It's also letting them know that their parks are more than just recreational parks. They're actually parks that are trying to do something for biodiversity as well. So this is a starting point, and we're just trying to pull this together as we stand at the moment. And we're still having to play around with it. There are various things that we'd like to be able to do in the future, involving not only nesting boxes. One of the ideas we've had, which we borrowed from an organisation in the United States, is to have the possibility that you can run, say, intensive week-long workshops where you get people from the local community, or most importantly, students will come in and actually want to set something like this up using the kits that are provided, but also do some of the coding that they need, and it may be drag and drop coding, it may be a bit more sophisticated than that, and also provide the background to it as well. And one of the models that has been used before is that secondary school students can actually create a range of sensors and then donate them to people in the community so they can monitor their local creek or their local park and do those sorts of things as well. So one, not only getting students learning about it, they're also involved in the community and they're also involved in trying to come up with some of the predictions that you might need in the future.